So
were you as outraged by Barack Obama's deportation program of over three?
Absolutely.
That's a good question.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Barack Obama made some compromises that I do not think were morally sound in order to try to lure Republicans into doing the immigration reform.
Do you know how many people he deported?
Since Marco Rubio joined the Gang of Eight.
Do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't.
I don't know either. I don't know how many people he deported. I just know it was a lot of people.
For what it's worth, as somebody who is an exceptional alien, is how it's described on my visa to the United States, but I have a home in Los Angeles, and I love America. I've lived and worked there for 20 years. My view is that most Americans, I think instinctively, do not have a problem with the principle of deporting undocumented workers who commit crimes in the United States. Would you have a problem with that as a policy?
As a policy, if people get a hearing and they go through a process, sure. But that is not what's happening.
No, I'm going to come to the next bit.
Hold on, that is not what's
Joy,
happening.
I'm going to finish my point.
It's not what's happening.
I wanted to see what you were prepared to agree with me about.
I'm very excited about this video. Because in the conservative world, Joy Reid is notorious. People do not like her in conservative world. In the Democratic world, people love her. I think because she did get fired from MSNBC, I believe. So maybe not. But nonetheless, this should be a good interview. This should be a good video. Because whether or not you love her or hate her, her and Piers Morgan, they're going to be going back and forth. And you may learn something, you may not. But without further ado, please make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get into it.
Because I think it's healthy to the debate, right? So we both agree about that, which is good. Now, I don't think that they should have pressed the button on deporting as many illegal immigrants who are there undocumented, but who've not committed crimes in the way that they're currently doing. That they should have sorted, first of all, people who are in the country illegally who commit crimes and deported them. Everyone would agree with it. But I agree with you. The wholesale pulling of people off the street who may have been in America for many years, got families in America who pay taxes in America. You only have to talk to farmers to understand the devastating impact this may have. So on that, I would agree with you. But I also think that, and I hope you would agree, that Donald Trump has pretty much stopped completely the number of people coming over the southern border illegally. And under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, over a 4-year period, as many as 10 million people are believed to have come over the southern border illegally. Now, you must surely think that the Trump way of securing the southern border is better for the United States than the Biden way.
First of all, if those are Donald Trump's numbers about how many people came in over the southern border, I don't buy them at all.
What numbers do you buy?
Anything Donald Trump said.
What numbers do you buy?
And let me go on.
Well, how many do you think it was?
Let's just say it was.
Well, Joy, how many do you think it was?
No, let's just say I'm going to stipulate to you. Let's just say it was 10 million people. Are you asking your viewers to believe that 10 million people were in the country raping and robbing rather than working on farms, working on construction sites?
No, I didn't say that.
We have to recall that so again, being in the United States without documents is a civil offense. It is not a felony. And so the reality is, if it was 10 million people, we have to ask ourselves, what is the pull? America has always run from the time that people who looked like me were enslaved.
Oh, no. Joy, time out. And I'm honestly shocked that she went the slave route and trying to relate black people being enslaved for hundreds of years, being forced to come to America on a slave boat, to illegal immigrants being deported. I'm a little shocked by this. I'm being completely honest. I'm really shocked that she did this. It's not the same. And I'm going to let her finish, of course, but trying to say, or even trying to use slavery of our ancestors in the same breath as people who illegally entered the United States and were deported, trying to compare the two as if they're even close to the same playing field is just insane to me. It's insane. It's shocking. That's why I'm laughing. It's really shocking that she did this. Wow.
Cheap labor, on free labor to start itself as an empire, and then on a constant pull of cheaper and cheaper labor. That is a pull that is pulling people over. And then, of course, there's the push of the destabilization in Central and South American countries. That is the push. That push-pull is a fact of life. And it was a fact of life when Donald Trump was president the first time.
But what's that got to do with how many come over the southern border illegally?
No, the difference is now, if you let's say where you end all undocumented migration to the United States, all that would do is put a burden on the pull part of it, because you have industries that desperately rely on farm labor, on construction labor.
But why shouldn't you have a system?
That's not an
but Joy, why
raising it to zero does nothing to change my life.
Joy, why shouldn't people?
But what it's done is
why shouldn't people? Let me just ask you, why shouldn't people do what I had to do when I wanted to live and work in America? I mean, just go through a proper process and get accepted to be allowed to come into the United States. That is how a normal, well-controlled border works. So what you seem to be suggesting is that because America's economy needs a lot of workers, we should simply have a system where anyone can come in. And if that's not your belief, then how would you regulate the southern border?
I'm going to say to you that if the policy were applied the same across the board, that would be one thing. It's not. Marco Rubio's grandfather didn't do it the right way. He overstayed an order of deportation, stayed anyway, and was allowed to remain in the country. Elon Musk's brother says, and Elon Musk disputes it, but Elon Musk's brother said they overstayed their student visa, started a business which would have been illegal for someone on a student visa, were allowed to stay. They are white migrants, and somehow that was okay. What we're seeing is a selective enforcement of this outrage.
Here's what I'll say to this. First thing I'll say is, if they did those things, and I don't know if they did them, I'm just going to take her word for it to say they did do them. They were obviously wrong. And if you're overstaying your visa intentionally, you know that's wrong. We know that's wrong. But here's my problem with this statement. You're saying that those things were not enforced because these people were white. The number one thing I want to say to this: when Elon Musk was a teenager, when he was young enough to be a student, who was president? Who was president? It wasn't Donald Trump. I don't even know if it was a Democrat or a Republican. I don't know. All I'm saying is, you're trying to relate that issue to Trump's current administration. I'm a little confused by that. I honestly am. Even Marco Rubio's father or his relatives, when they did that, who was president? It wasn't Trump. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Obama. So I'm honestly just confused. And the reason why I'm confused, aggressively confused, is because you related this back to race as well. You said that the reason they weren't enforced is because they're white. Correlation is not causation. Because they're white doesn't mean that's the reason why these immigration policies weren't enforced. And trying to say, oh, it's because they're white, it's just not, in my opinion, a fair argument. But nonetheless, let's continue.
The person is brown. They need to be rounded up and put into, quote unquote, alligator Alcatraz, a concentration camp in Florida. If the person is white, we let them start a business and become Elon Musk. What's happening is that Stephen Miller has said he wants 3,000 people a day rounded up. And he has said he doesn't care where they have to get them. He wants ICE going into Home Depot. He wants them going on construction sites, going onto farms, and dragging brown people and into detention. They're putting people in private prisons that are unregulated by the federal government. We've heard stories of people eating rotten food, having to use
but you still haven't told me what you would do
for the restroom. And so the reality is, what we have right now is we have a system of literal terrorism against brown migrants simply because Stephen Miller does not want them in the country.
As you know, they're not all brown, as you know.
Well, the vast majority are.
Well, but you haven't answered my question also. If you were running the southern border, if you were in charge, if you were the border czar, what would you do? Would you let them all in, or would you stop some of them coming in?
The first thing that I would do is to look at some of the actual legislation that's been put on the table before. You have a very small number of immigration judges who deal with people who are presenting themselves for asylum, which, by the way, is perfectly legal. It is legal to present yourself for asylum, but there are scarcely any judges doing that work. Multiple times, bipartisan, members of Congress, the House and Senate, have tried to pass legislation that would increase the number of those judges. If you actually had enough people to adjudicate asylum cases at the border, it would make that easier. I've actually been to the southern border and looked at the process and looked at the previous version of detention that Donald Trump did in his first term. First of all, it was horrific, and it was abusive even then to children.
And were you as outraged by Barack Obama's deportation program of over three?
Absolutely.
That's a good question.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Barack Obama made some compromises that I do not think were morally sound in order to try to lure Republicans into doing the immigration reform.
Do you know how many people he deported?
Since Marco Rubio joined the Gang of Eight.
Do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't.
I don't know either. I don't know how many people he deported. I just know it was a lot of people relative to presidents who were deporting people. Him and Trump are like number 1 and 2. They both, one is LeBron, one is Michael Jordan. Yes, LeBron is number 1. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what y'all say. LeBron is number 1. Anyways, they're like 1 and 2. They're going band for band on deportations. So people kind of forget that, or they don't talk about it because it doesn't make these type of arguments look good.
You don't know and you don't care. You've just given me,
because it's not the issue.
You're
trying to make the issue the southern border.
Joy. You've just given me Joy. Joy.
The point is,
Joy. You've just given me Joy.
Was not dragging women and
let me finish.
Nursing babies apart and taking.
Joy. You've just given me.
I'm sure going to tell me it's your main issue.
You've just given me
but it's not my main issue. My main issue is that what we're seeing.
I'm trying to finish my sentence. You've just given me a lengthy monologue attacking Donald Trump's aggressive deportation policy. And I've simply said to you, there was a Democrat, a black Democrat president of the United States for 8 years. I'm simply asking, given that you're obviously all over every detail of the Trump deportation policy, and given you were on the airwaves in America on a daily basis through Obama's tenure, how many people did he deport in 8 years?
I do not know. You'll tell me. I'm sure.
Have a guess.
But it's probably more than 1 million people. I'm quite certain.
Have a
because
guess.
I think each 2 million.
Right, it was 3 million.
Okay, and your point being what?
My point being, are you as shocked by that as you are claiming to be by Trump?
Yeah, that's a little hypocritical. I'm not going to lie. That's a little hypocritical. And I'm not going to sit here and try to, bash Joy Reid. That's not what I want to do on this channel. I don't want to spread hatred of any sorts. But I will be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. You are being a hypocrite right now. Even when you are criticizing Trump's deportations, you brought up Elon Musk when he was a student. Elon Musk is like 50 years old. Maybe I'm crazy. Y'all, am I crazy? Don't answer that. But maybe I'm tripping. Am I the bad guy for this? Am I delusional for wondering why she's not getting this, or why there's a language barrier here? Am I the delusional one?
Wait a minute. Can I answer your question?
The majority were brown.
One moment. It is not deportation in and of itself that is what is shocking to people. There are 2 things that are shocking. Number 1, well, I'll do 3. 1, it is not deportation to render someone to a third-party country they have no connection to.
I agree.
Rendering people to El Salvador is shocking.
And that's why he's coming back.
That was not done by Biden.
That's why that guy's coming back.
Done by George W. Bush. All right. So that is shocking.
Yeah.
Number 2,
that's why he came back.
People with deporting. Well, that's only one person. They deported more than 200 people. The case you're talking about,
he's come back
to that gulag. Yes, but they deported more than 200 people, 70% of whom CBS has determined had no criminal record
whatsoever.
But
why are you changing the subject from Obama's deportation policy?
I'm telling you, the 3 things that are shocking are not deportations themselves. It's deporting people, number 1, to third-party countries like the Sudan, where they have no ties whatsoever, simply for the cruelty of doing it, essentially paying third-party countries.
But I asked you about your response to Obama. Obama deported more people than any president in American history.
If someone receives... Piers, my family are immigrants. If there's the deportation process, at the end of that adjudication, you are deemed...
Time out. Earlier in this video, you were comparing your ancestors being slaves in America to deportations, and then now you're saying your family is immigrants. But if that's the case, how were they slaves in America if they were immigrants to America? Because me personally, I'm Native American in the most literal, I guess, sense I can put it. I'm Native American. My family was brought here 405, I don't know how many hundreds of years ago. I don't have any immigrant like family members. We are American. But there's also people who are immigrants to America, which is fine to me. I'm not trying to judge or anything like that. But it's kind of like you just used slavery as a talking point because you just said your family were immigrants. Granted, she could have both immigrants and natively American, family members, but it's kind of like, you know what? I'm not even going to judge her too much. I'm going to just play the video. I'm not going to judge too much.
To be deportable and need to be
deported. But you're missing my point, Joy. Boy, I'm trying to politely ask you, do you condemn...
different from what we're seeing now.
But here's my point. In the interest of fairness, do you condemn Barack Obama's deportation policy, given that he deported more people, let me finish, more people than any American president in history in his 8 years?
What an absolutely disingenuous argument, Piers, because what people are yes. No, I'm gonna explain it if you'll allow me.
You didn't even know how many he deported.
Because I just said that, first of all, I think it was a moral compromise that I disagree with vehemently that Barack Obama made to try to lure Republicans who were never going to really come to the table for immigration reform. I disagree with what he did. But if there's a process for deportation, that's one thing. Okay. If you are rendering people with no process, if you are rendering them to third parties, and if you are kidnapping them off the streets as if this is 1930s Germany or South Africa in the 1980s, that is what I find objectionable and I find fundamentally fascist and will stand by that every day. What Donald Trump is doing is a moral horror.
So I'm going to end the video there. I understand what she's saying. I'll try to simplify it for everyone who doesn't. She seemingly doesn't have a problem with the deportations, even though she does have a problem with the deportations. But her big problem, the reason she's actually on this show is his process for deporting people. She feels as though the process that he's going about it, the method that he's using is wrong. It's not right. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys think about the way Donald Trump is handling deportations and whether or not you agree or disagree with Joy Reid. Because some of you may agree with it. Some of you may disagree with it. Don't just randomly, blindly pick a side. Really think about it. Who do you agree with in this conversation? Piers Morgan did present interesting, information. And yeah. Anyways, if you want to watch this video, it's on Piers Morgan's channel. It's called People Got Bored of Your Shtick, Piers Morgan versus Joy Reid. My name is LFR Jojo, and I'll see you in the next episode.